Aisha, give us the latest on this very infamous etoll saga.
Well, Minister Fikile Mbalula said that after 100 days, he's giving himself 100 days and his department to come up with a workable and lasting solution with regards to etolls. Now, I asked him the question at the media briefing about whether the Minister of Finance and the Gauteng Premier were at loggerheads about how to deal with etolls, and he said absolutely not. He said that they were all sitting down and discussing how to deal with this matter of etolls. He realizes that there is a problem and that they've reached an impasse, but that they will be talking about it and to find a lasting solution. I don't believe that there's a decision right now about scrapping etolls completely. What I do know is that they are moving, or there is an intention to move money from PRASA to SANRAL, but the minister says that that money hasn't been allocated yet because there were reports about that money being allocated to pay for this huge etoll debt that has now been saddled on the country. But Mbalula says in 100 days' time, and especially now with the appointment of his new DG, they will come up with a workable solution.
Not an easy matter that you resolve simply by populism, that etolls must not be paid. No, there are many things involved in that. And we need to look at all options. If people don't pay or nobody comes to the party, what are the consequences for this government with an ailing economy? How does that going to affect our borrowing capacity and debt position that we have found ourselves in as a result of the etolls? And how does the user pay principle apply in the ever-expanding needs and congestion on the roads?
So what else does the minister have to offer? Because our public system really is in tatters.
Well, the minister did talk about a decisive turnaround strategy for PRASA. He wants to get PRASA working again. And he did talk about rooting out corruption and mismanagement and said that people involved in corruption will not be spared. He talked about the fact that the courts will have to deal with them and they won't escape that. And he also mentioned a figure of about 2 billion rand that had been lost through the procurement of locomotives, which we're not able to use, and he said that that's not going to happen again, and of course that's now the subject of a court case as well.
The war room will be transparent in what it is expected to do, but over and above that, it is expected to implement the turnaround strategy that Minister Nzimande mandated the board to implement. There is a turnaround strategy. It is being implemented not optimally, so it must be. So obviously, we have discussed that matter with the board. I'm also meeting with the board again for the second time tomorrow to operationalize some of these things. At the center of that meeting tomorrow, it is the war room.
And of course, we've seen quite a lot of violence on our trains. What's being done about that?
Well, the minister made it very clear that safety is paramount. And so he says that there's going to be increased security on trains. He says that these security officers or security guards will be trained by the South African police services, because he says it's not just a question of doing crowd control. These security guards will have to deal with a criminal element, with people who come onto the trains to commit violence. And so he says he has already spoken to Minister Fikile about this. They are in talks and they've already reached an agreement in principle about the security guards that will be deployed on the trains being trained by the South African police services.
We are moving ahead with ensuring that our trains will be policed and our trains will be safe and our people will feel safe to use our trains. And that's what is important. And we need to deliver on that mandate, because we have gone to the people, we have heard them, we have seen for ourselves. There is no safety overcrowding in the trains, people getting into the trains without paying a cent, and in that process risking their lives in that overcrowding and so on. So there's got to be law, but protecting the citizens to use an affordable, safe train.
All right, we're going to leave it right there. Our reporter Aisha Ismail is in Cape Town.